Welcome everybody to my volunteering 101. I will tell you first that this is the first time I'm teaching any kind of class at the known world level. So understand that uh, I'm a little nervous. I have been doing this for a long time, but I just want to remind everybody that I am presenting today are my own opinions about the SCA, the websites, and how things are being done. So it's not anybody else's point of view beyond mine. Notes. So a little bit about me. I am Dyonisia Buleheued from the Kingdom of North Shield. I've been reenacting since 1994. I've been around in North Shield that entire time. I've done everything from Group Herald to Exchequer to Regional Exchequer and a Kingdom Exchequer. And I'm currently a central regional exchequer and stepping up as the NMR deputy here, coming up in 2024. So in the mundane life, I'm Elizabeth Paul. I go by Beth. I work for a community action program in northwestern Wisconsin since 2007. And I currently work as the project director for a RSVP program, which is Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, where we work with people 55 plus to place them into volunteer opportunities, and also work with nonprofits to place volunteers into them. And I also run for the last 13 years, almost 14 years now, a volunteer income tax assistance program where we do taxes for people for 14 weeks a year. So I keep very busy when I'm not playing. So what are we going to be talking about today? So we're looking at just what is a volunteer coordinator and why should the SCA care? We're also looking at recruitment, motivation and benefits of volunteering, orientation and training, management and supervision, ethics of volunteering, and then retention and looking at different parts of retention. So we've got retention, looking at the more difficult sides of retention, looking at difficult volunteers, burnout of volunteers, taking care of yourself as a volunteer. Why not? Why are they not volunteering? And why are they leaving? So most of my focus on my presentation is really looking at the volunteers themselves, those of us who've been in the SCA for a while, and looking at stepping into volunteer roles within the SCA. Now, there is another part of what we're dealing with is looking at those volunteers who are coming in. So what is a volunteer coordinator and why should the SCA care? So as you can see, being a volunteer coordinator really has you being a jack of all trades and a master of none. You're required to know a little bit about human resource management, communications, marketing, special events, training and talent development, program evaluation and assessment, program design and risk management, data management, analyzing, program and project planning and management, and financial management. I'm not good at all of these things, but just like in the SCA, I have a team that I work with in the mundane side of it. Toby Johnson's probably one of the top she's a great volunteer manager. She actually runs a business and talks about how to train volunteer managers, and she's really talking about what the main goal of a volunteer coordinator is. Coordinator, manager are all the same terms. It just depends on what organization actually uses for that name. Program director, program manager, program coordinator, same thing. We're all doing the same thing. So we're looking at trying to get enough volunteers to fulfill our mission. And everybody knows what the SCA's mission is. And to meet that goal, this person needs to be able to perform a variety of duties. And that involves recruitment, screening, training, ongoing supervision, program planning, evaluation, on and on and on. So here's just another way of looking at it. It's a competency model for volunteer administration, and everything that you see here we deal with on a day in and day out basis. And it may not be where I'm always dealing with a critical issue with a volunteer or needing to figure out how to plan something. Being that I'm part of a grant program at the federal level, I have a very routine type of year. So we're dealing with, okay, program management is a day to day. Grant management is more of when I need to at the beginning and end of the year, and evaluations more the end of the year, and then just dealing with all these other areas. So it's a lot to deal with. And every day you're dealing with something different. And some days it's overwhelming. And when we're looking at it from the SCA, we really need to remember, hey, there's a lot we're dealing with. We may not have every single thing on this dealing with on a day to day basis, but it's all there within a 12-month period of time. And that's the tough part in trying to remember, hey, we're just not here to fill a space. We have human needs, and those needs need to be filled. Um, so within the SCA, one of the things that I've noticed is that we need to care about the small things like saying thank you, having people stop apologizing for taking on a position. I've heard that many, many times as an exchequer. Finding ways to improve the way we can do our jobs within the chain so that it's easier to find replacements in the future. Are your group struggling to find people to take on those critical roles? That seneschal, that exchequer, that chatelaine, or that third person within your group? There's an issue. The SCA has many people willing to serve, and we see that by our peerage of Pelican. But we need to think about what to do uh, out of the opportunity, how much commitment will be required, and really make sure that communications and thanking them beyond award recognition needs to be done. Or on the other side of the coin is to talk to all of the SCA volunteers and find out from them what would make them want to come back to volunteer, what motivates them to volunteer, or how to get that new volunteer into a required role. So I know I'm going through this a little bit fast. If you've got questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat, and my moderator will actually read them out. So recruitment really has two different parts when you're looking at this. Recruitment, you have both internal, which is those volunteers who are already members and have already been there and we're looking to fill those critical roles, but also the external. And the external, I'm talking about bringing in those new people to fill our ranks and continue the SCA, continue that dream for the future. So recruitment can be seen as a process of showing people what they can do. And you can see by those steps that really need to be taken care of is determining what your needs are. Many kingdoms are getting better at this by developing job description, to developing to-do list of what has to happen within each position, creating a recruitment strategy. That hasn't been done, and you can see that by many kingdoms having problems filling those critical needed positions to actually have the kingdom function. Even at the local level, the shires of the baronies. And then another side of it is maybe targeting those volunteers and marketing your program or position to those people. People like to volunteer. Everybody likes to. It's more of the healing hands and getting too much volunteering. But for those people who want to volunteer, they want to volunteer for one of these reasons: sharing a skill, learning a skill, leadership skills, demonstrating commitment, getting to know the people they're working with, keeping busy, giving back, um, for fun, just a challenge. And the best one of all, and many people don't experience this because someone actually came up to them and asked them. Many of the volunteers really credit and value that people walked up to them and asked them, or rang the phone and sent them a message and said, "Hey, I need you for this position. Can you do this?" And they somehow say yes because you sold it to them, and they're really proud to say, "Hey, thanks for asking. That's awesome." So volunteers needs are not easy to find on many websites. Um, we were talking to it about this during our lunch period. Um, let me, I'm going to go and click out of here. There's a couple different websites I want to show you. So, and everybody's familiar with these websites. You guys have seen the SCA website, and you can see it here. This is what people see when they open it up. Beyond this little itty bitty mention right here of join us, there really isn't anything beyond really cool pictures on here to say, "Hey, come and be a part of us." As an external volunteer, as an internal volunteer, and you're looking for that job, and you need someone to come in, you have to go in to positions. You have to go and find it. It's buried. When you look at it, is this an easy thing to find, either how to join the SCA or to find a position that's available within the SCA that needs to be filled? It's not easy. This one, you have to go to about, and you have to go to open position. So if you go to about, and then you have to go down to open position. So it's not an easy thing to find. You have to go multiple layers before you get there. And it's not really described anywhere beyond I went hunting for it because I was looking specifically for it. Now, if you go to, there it is. I'm going to show my own kingdoms. My own kingdom's very, very focused on current, what's happening, what events are going. There's nothing being talked about for volunteerism, or what's opening positions. As you can see, there's really nothing here. If you go in, you have to actually go and know, oh, I got to go into officers, and I need to go into, oh, I need to go into help wanted, but it's buried. Unless you knew what was available and where to find it, it would take you a while to find that. Um, this kingdom is I don't know if anybody's from Alametic. I don't think I pronounced it correctly, but excuse me. This is their main page, as you can see. And what's really cool about theirs, and this is the only site among all of the sites I've looked at, and I've looked at every single site of all the kingdoms in the known world, that actually has the help wanted on the front page of their website. Now, it is down at the bottom, but it's there. Nobody else has any of this internal stuff being looked at on their front page. And we're trying to get people to come and volunteer with us and fill those needed positions within our kingdoms. We need to change the way that works. I have more of a list, but I won't go through them. I picked 3 to do, and then I think I'm going to have to stop sharing and then go back to share again. Okay, good. I'm hoping I'm doing this right. Share. Ha, it worked. All right. So I'm not certain how other kingdoms do it. I know my kingdom has gotten to where anytime they're filling a new position, they've actually making sure that there's a job description of what the job entails and what you need to do. But you need to make sure that you have the support, the training, and the communications for within the job for the jobs that need to get to be improved. So a lot of times, say you are a regional for um, say thrown weapons, and you need to collect the reports for your segment of the kingdom. You shouldn't be having to deal with people yelling at you because you're the warranted person in that area and for the kingdom, and you should be able to help with um, getting the support from higher up. But communication is important. I know I'm from the Exchequer world, so my kingdom, we've done a really good job of making sure that at least quarterly we're talking among all the deputies to see if there's a problem or what's going on. Is there consistency or what's going on in each of our local groups to help them out? And what's the big picture? Otherwise, you'd never get an understanding. And you need to look at what kind of support, training, or communications is happening once you place them into their positions. How are they getting treated? Are they getting supported? Do they know what their jobs are? I've gone into a position where I really did not know what the hell my job was at the kingdom level. And I will say I was very unprepared. I really had no clue. And I felt like I did not do the job justice, and I end up having a very hard time of it. And because of everything happening within it, I ended up stopping volunteering for over 2 years because of it. So it's a long process for me to have come back from that, where I stopped everything and just held place because of the experiences I had within my position, and that can change depending on how that is. So, Valerie, sorry about the for the positions in need of filling for my own local kingdom and group. I usually just see them as a face group post for the Pacific groups. That's great. I know that works, but we have to remember one important thing, and we get reminded that all the time. Not everybody is on Facebook. Yes, it is a great way to communicate, but you need to make sure that it's put out there in other ways. The Kingdom website, if they have a Discord server, if you've got a Google group where you're putting it out, not everybody wants to be there. So we need to diversify from Facebook and get out. Otherwise, we're going to continue having the problem with that communication, letting people know what's available. But that is a great point. So thank you. Yeah, and they also get buried. That is so true. So, recruitment within the SCA, sometimes volunteers just want to be asked to volunteer for a position. So, how do you do a good ask? Well, the big thing here is you need to know yourself and know how effective you are and your attitude to the ask. So, having a pitch prepared ahead of time or written up ahead of time to talk about would help. Knowing your audience, do you know the person who you're asking? Do you know the people you're asking? Say you're asking for a group, tailor your ask to that person so you know it may hit the right notes. Build urgency. Well, explain why the work is important. Why do we need to get this done? We need it because otherwise we don't have a group, because we don't have that third person. We need it because if without this exchequer, we cannot be part of the kingdom. So ask for something specific. hey, this is only going to be, I need you to step in and be here for a year or two, or 6 months until we find the permanent person. Use strong language. Be silent. Know when to be quiet and let them process. I know I have that issue where I just keep talking and talking and talking. And you may have sold yourself 5 minutes ago, but if you've been quiet, they could have said yes. And pretty persistent. Get an answer out of them one way or the other, or if they say, I don't know, meet up with them later and throw your ideas at them again to see what will help. There we go. There we go. So, motivation and benefits of volunteering. Motivation into becoming a volunteer takes a person to look at themselves and ask why I should become a volunteer. Were you personally asked to help fill an officer position at a group level or put your name into the hat for a kingdom or society level office? The SCA is a family to many, and they want to continue to see the SCA be around. Your skills and talents or the want to add to them may also motivate you to volunteer. So, Dr. David McClelland's theory of social motivators has everyone falling into one of three categories on why you do something. They are achievement, influence, and affiliation. Achievement has people desiring for excellence, wanting to do a good job, needing a sense of accomplishment, wants and desires feedback. Influence has people who like to lead, enjoy giving advice, like to influence a project, enjoy job status, and likes to see see ideas carried out. Affiliation has people who like to be popular, like to be well thought of, enjoys and wants interactions, dislikes being alone in work or play, likes to help others, and desires harmony. So, when looking at the bigger picture of motivation to become a volunteer, it could be intellectually challenging, have opportunities to interact with more people, could help create a positive change and action with there you're working. You're doing something, you can expand the sphere of influence you have, and you could create a moral for the SCA. But just as you motivate people to come in, people also leave or are turned off by many things, such as being too serious. Some people just want to have fun and do not want to deal with the real world things in our past time. It's too time consuming. They want to make too many sacrifices to do the job that is asked of them, or experience just has been too much. So, volunteering is a matter of choice to an individual. It's an unpaid position that is participating in the SCA that could help create positive change. You're giving of your time and talent at the group, kingdom, or society level. And always remember, you will get something out of it, good or bad. Volunteering is important to the individual due to it empowering them. And they can turn around and add value to the SCA, thus strengthening the community as a whole. The benefits you receive as a volunteer in the SCA include teaching, exchanging skills, administration, clerical work, keeping things running, preparing and serving food, leading a group, kingdom, or society. So many times it just, as you can see here, having those type of broad ranging items just helps people feel like they're doing something positive. And that brings people really wanting to be where they're at. So, as I quote in the red box there, volunteering really does relieve stress and alleviate the symptoms of depression, as well as having a positive impact in your community, which is the SCA. Volunteering can also improve your relationships because you find and you meet more friends, you meet more people, and you end up talking to a lot of people. So you come in a position and you say, hey, I got this position. I'm about ready to step into this new officer. And okay, what do I have for orientation and training when they step in? Is it just, oh, here's the paperwork, here's a piece of paper, and here's your job. Here you go. Or have you been lucky enough to have the previous officer walk through everything and show you and have some experience in it before you actually had to step in and do that job? Um, Many people I know, for myself included, I've stepped in and had to create the jobs myself. Um, for the first couple, for the one I'm stepping into now, I've got a piece of paper. It's an easy job, but it has specifically what I need to do and when I need to do it. That makes life so much easier. Every job is different, and when you take on a job, try to think about how can I help the next person down the line. Write how to do what you do for your job. Write it down. What is your policy and procedure? You hate saying, oh, I got to write policy and procedure, but that's the way we can operate and make it fun because it makes it simple. Here's what you need to do. Here's when you need to do it. Make sure you follow up. It's done. Continue. Really simple, really straightforward. That's important. So as you're working on stuff, you get started, you're an enthusiastic beginner. And when you start and you get into it and it's like, okay, I just having second thoughts. I don't know if I can do this. So you're 90 days in and you're that disillusioned learner where I have more questions than answers now. I kind of sort of know what I'm doing, but I still don't feel comfortable in the job. And you get into the 6 months time and you're a contributor, but I don't have the confidence to actually contribute to where I actually know my stuff and I can actually say what I'm doing. And by the end of that 12 months, it's like, I'm a peak performer. So if you want to take this and harness it into the SCA, say it's a 2-year office, you're looking at 90 days would be 6 months, would be probably somewhere around the almost halfway through, so into the 1 year time. And that second year you're a contributor and you're getting to your peak performance and you need to go find your replacement. So it's really hard to see that, and everybody goes through this, every single person. Some people do it better and do it faster than others. Some people never get to that peak performer because they just didn't have that hand holding that they needed when they needed it. And you need to be able to ask that question or seek the communication and get the help that you need to do the job and make it fun. Because some of the jobs are fun. They really are. You get to talk to so many people. Um, Within the SCA, here's what I'm seeing. So when we're looking at this volunteer management cycle, you've got the recruitment side where it's hard to fill positions, especially the Seneschal, the Exchequer, the governing stuff, due to the amount of work, training, just being plain out scared. Who hasn't heard the, oh, I'm sorry, you're an Exchequer, or oh, you do something wrong and you could go to jail for what you're doing. That's a hard thing to deal with. Training and onboarding or orientation, many positions within the SCA has minimal training. And no matter how you do it, and you're just learning on the job. You can fix that and make that a positive by writing that procedure to make it easier for the next person. Scheduling, in the SCA, we work around our real lives. So this is done okay, but we need to be consistent with it because some jobs are a lot more heavy duty than others. When you're looking at a kingdom or society level jobs, that you have more to do. When you're wanting to just pick up a job and try it, the local jobs are great. Regional jobs are good where you have a little bit more heavy 4 times a year. But some of the kingdom level stuff is pretty heavy duty. Engagement. People come into the position and want to do well, but without all the pieces and the puzzles, it's it's a hard ride for some people in certain positions. So you guys kind of know what positions are good, what positions are easy to fall into and do, where other ones you really need the training and the understanding and how to do it well. Retention and post engagement. Many positions in the SCA are 2 years in service, and then you have to find your replacement. And you start looking at a year in, and you keep looking for that second year while doing all the rest of your job. So other positions are held for years. Some of the heraldry positions, some of the positions, say within a regional office, you don't have the 2-year requirement. But some of those people are getting burned out, or they just feel trapped because they can't find anybody and they really want to walk away. So, but educating and having that sheet to say, hey, this is how you do it. Let's take that next step. Reporting. I know certain offices are heavy reporting. We've got to do our quarterly reports. We've got to get those in. But by us all doing that, it makes it as easy as possible. It's not as hard as you think it is. The what they're asking in the SCA for reporting is nothing compared to general volunteer programs. So this is very simple, and it's just writing sentences in a form or an email and getting it off to your superior. That's the easiest thing done. So managing volunteers can be on the more challenging aspects of engaging volunteers, as it takes exceptional leadership skills. Some experts state that you need to be better with leadership skills than those who support paid employees. Volunteer managers need to be part cheerleader, part risk taker, part herder, part teacher, part visionary. So you really want to take a look and see, here are my key giveaways and takeaways and what you really need to look at. Some of the volunteer opportunities within the SCA are difficult. Officers' positions, such as Exchequer or Seneschal, has many things on their plates that need to be completed in a timely manner. You need to pay attention to streamlining the work of the volunteer. So those who are in those positions, you figure out how to make it easier and less paperwork, or spread it out among more people to get the job done. By organizing that role and bringing in the people to help with the parts, you may discover what more volunteers are willing to say yes to helping out. So I do have some myths about volunteer management and what you can do and what you can't do. The best one is that volunteers are free. We're not free. We actually do put a lot into what we're doing as volunteers. Ethics as a volunteer, ethics has its do's and don'ts. Don't badmouth other volunteers or offices above you. Don't discriminate against others. Don't prejudge somebody before you get to know them and understand them. Firm ethics when dealing with issues of a difficult volunteer help you deal with them. So as an officer, sometimes you're stuck having to deal with issues within the volunteer ranks or even within your groups as a seneschal or those factions. And you need to be able to have, okay, what ethics do you have and what do you do? So you can see that you can help to establish the right of the volunteer and establish what the organizations expect of those volunteers. So that way you have internally what you can talk about externally. Retention. As everybody knows, volunteer organizations need to be a person-centered, working as a team, versus position-centered, where you work as a machine just to get things done. Having clear expectations of what any job entails and letting a volunteer know about it before stepping into a position is very important. Communications with all of the volunteers is also important, along with recognizing people's potentials and capabilities. It will have a positive effect on the organization by having people want to work to their fullest potential. A great volunteer environment has people tapping into all the volunteers who are open to working as a team. When looking at the big picture for retention, some of the best predictors are adequate preparation for the task, task achievement, positive relationships in the organization, and what the nature of the work is themselves. Something that I have learned within my work is that just the little measure of thank you to a volunteer, or a card, or an email will go a long ways to looking at the retention of your current volunteers. The other side of this is if you need to talk to your volunteers to see how they like to be recognized. Not every volunteer likes an award, but they deserve something for the time and commitment they have put into the position they have held. Volunteers need to feel appreciated, or everything we do to recruit and train volunteers to the positions that we will need will go and fail. So with any group, we have difficult volunteers. So difficult volunteers, everybody knows there's difficult people. The biggest thing here is just remember, don't do it when you're upset. Look at it, walk away, come back to it, deal with it later. And just like anything else, use the KISS method. The KISS method is awesome. So a really nice way of saying it, keep it sweet and simple. You can solve the problems. Any problem can be solved. You just have to think your way through it. Burnout. I think everybody has seen someone who's gotten burned out as a volunteer. The phenomenon results from chronic workplace stress, but it could be chronic volunteer stress that it's just never been successfully managed. You're looking at common causes of volunteer burnout is lack of that volunteer role clarity, lack of support, lack of communications, unmanageable volunteers, unfair treatment by others. And then there's a list of strategies to help prevent. So just understand what you can and can't handle, and help those you work with to make sure they can handle what they've got. By working together, you guys can figure out how to prevent the burnout. But people do burn out, and just making sure people understand that. I also have a list of symptoms that you may see people with burnout on here. Self-care while being a volunteer. You just need to take care of yourself and make sure that if you're overwhelmed, don't do those duties for a little bit. Talk about it with somebody. Make sure that you remember to walk away and just breathe and come back to it. Get enough rest and sleep. Remember that this is a game that's supposed to have fun. This is our playtime. We take our vacation from our vacation. We don't need that. Let's just do the stuff we enjoy, and hopefully that's volunteering. And why are they not volunteering? So everybody knows that when somebody is asked, are you volunteering? They say no. That a lot of times they're saying they just don't want to deal with the position or the issue in the SCA of that position. People are unwilling to volunteer, but rather the organization is often unwilling to welcome the skills and input of connected community members. And the reasons why people don't volunteer, and they're talking about they believe that they do not measure up with others, shiny hats, they don't feel appreciated, they feel it's too difficult to get involved, they also aren't asked to volunteer. And why are people leaving? Everybody knows people who've left or are leaving volunteering and don't want to go back and try it again. Failure to be recognized, not measuring the value of the volunteer, not matching their skills to the correct opportunities, failure to train them well, failure to provide strong leadership, poor burnout, or poor leadership and burnout. Poor volunteer resource management equals a third of the volunteers stopping volunteering. So by looking at by rethinking how your work rules are, you assign the task appropriately to that position, you support and train them, and use the technology that we have to develop that strategic plan of where you want to take that position, will create that connection, and when you keep going around and around. So I wanted to, this will all be available in all this information, and I know it's a lot, will be available for you guys to take a look at. Questions?